Welcome to another episode of the Captains and Coaches podcast. I am your host, Tex McQuilkin, and today I am joined by the Vagabond strength coach, Drew Szczecinski. We discuss his travels to Japan, Thailand, to Chicagoland, and all the lessons that he's picked up as a fighter, a coach for fighters, and then taking these lessons and applying them to his general population clients. Drew's a great friend of mine for a long time, so I'm excited to share all his mindset tools, his ability to connect with athletes, and hand off these opportunities for you to learn and grow in your ability to communicate as a coach. Without further ado, let's get to the conversation. Ready, and break. Action. Welcome to the Captains and Coaches podcast, live in studio. I welcome Drew Szczecinski.
He says it finally. Thank you. Yes, Tex, it is great to be here, brother. I apologize to listeners. This man asked me 17 times my last name, and I kept saying, yes, you're getting it perfectly every time. It just goes, Szczecinski. Yes, you got it.
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours.
Deliberate practice.
Yep, that's you, man.
Well, Drewski, we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
Feels like forever,
Mm-hmm.
especially on this side of the table.
Absolutely.
And you're a very unique person.
Okay. All right.
Longtime friend.
Yeah.
Longer time Vagabond Coach.
Yes, that is true.
Travel the world. So where do we begin? A big theme of this podcast is 0 to 1 leadership. That first year where you took on responsibility for either your own performance,
Yes,
other people's performance,
Yep.
in respect to being a team leader, team captain, or a coach.
Right.
And so you coach fighters, you coach people, individuals in their fitness journeys.
Yep.
So you have an array of experience, and then all over the world.
All over the world.
Not just limited to a specific population either.
Right. That's true, man. And that was the goal from the very start. I always loved starting the story with just a very nerd reference because, as you know, I'm the biggest nerd. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be Ryu from Street Fighter. So
That's how you pronounce it?
Oh, gosh.
That was Ryu.
Oh, well, you know what? Ryu? A little Japanese accent in there, a little Hadoken. I would come up playing these video games being like, oh, I wanted to be a traveling martial artist. This is what I wanted to do with my life. I want to do something like an adventure or whatever. And the more I got older, went to college, was a philosophy major, and my professor told me at the end, he goes, you were meant to be a vagabond. You were meant to just wander. And I just go, okay, that kept in here.
Caine from Kung Fu.
Caine from Kung Fu, yes.
Walk the earth, meet people.
Didn't Jules say that at the end?
Adventures.
Didn't Jules say that at the end? Yeah, Pulp Fiction. I just need to walk the earth. That's what I'm thinking. Vincent didn't like that. But yes, that was the goal at the original, was just I wanted to travel and I wanted to train martial arts. How it started was I worked my way up went to Costa Rica, got a TEFL, so teaching English as a foreign language.
Okay.
Got to go to Japan, stayed in Japan, and while in Japan, still practicing the entire time, still training, I actually became a mixed martial artist and got to compete in amateur, and then actually upgraded to being a professional fighter, which was wonderful. So I could teach English on one side and then fight professionally on the other. After I had won a tournament, I got hired to go coach in Thailand, just coach grappling for people that are trying to get fit. And it was a weight loss camp. So I was coaching fighters and I was coaching, 40 to 50-year-old women and men. Yep.
In Thailand.
In Thailand, right? Of course, for the fighters class, it would be people that were professional fighters. Right. Yeah. And then for people just trying to lose weight, is a different class. And I do circuit training and whatnot as well. But it was mostly centered around, hey, I'm going to show you how to lose calories the fun way by strangling each other and hyperextending elbows.
It's a lot more fun.
Exactly. So I started there. And the moment I experienced, and I feel like this is a come to Jesus moment that we all have as coaches or captains, the moment that we find our influence or our wisdom or our lessons coming over somebody so viscerally that they transform not just their body, but their mindset, their perspective on themselves, their identity. I was hooked. I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Fighting was fun, but in no way was I competitive as in like, oh, I want to be a champion. It was just like, I wanted to see if I could actually fight. But the moment I experienced the euphoria of seeing somebody realize their potential, realize their goals. I was like, I just want to feed off this all my life. That's all I want, is this emotion again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's been for the last 10 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
It takes a lot of self-awareness.
Mm.
So then a big part of being a responsible leader is knowing your own limitations, knowing where you fall short.
Right.
So not just putting up that guard to your clients
Yeah.
or to your athletes of saying, I'm the almighty, I know it all.
Correct.
It's now allowing them to see like behind the veil. And I feel taking on the responsibility of both people's performance and then their longevity, their behaviors once they leave their time with you.
Right.
That's incredibly important. So then speak to us about, that moment of clarity, to use another Pulp Fiction quote here, that moment of clarity, and then seeing the other side of it before you had the clarity of what guys, what shield, what walls did you put up as a coach trying to pretend to be something for your athletes?
So that's a great question. I would say that the conversation you and I are having right now, a couple of chuckles, but a lot of insight, is the exact same way you want to coach an individual. I don't ever believe that you're coming to me because you know I know something that you're trying to get to and I can help you get there, right? But that doesn't mean there has to be this guru, call me sensei, or anything over that. That hierarchy doesn't have to exist. What I believe does have to exist is real conversations with the individual, meaning this. I have never once come forward being like, I know everything. I have so much. Look at all my. In fact, walking through your house makes me feel like I know nothing. After all the accomplishments you've had, the certificates on the board and whatnot, I have so few of those. For me, it's always been the ability to sit down with an individual and be like, what do you want? Really, truly, what do you want? Where do you want to end up? And by me being vulnerable enough to say, hey, I've been there. This is what I wanted to, and this is how I got there. Let's see if you and I can get there together. That to me is a true leader. Not this is the way to do it because I said so. It's we're going to walk this path together, whether it be verbally or physically. And we're both going to get to the point where I know you will reach your true identity. What you truly conjure up in your mind as the life you deserve, that health, that happiness, we're going to get there together. That to me, that barrier, that shield you speak of, I didn't really have it because I never looked at myself as somebody that knew so much more. I never went to school. Like I'm a certified nutrition coach and I've been certified as a life coach, but God knows how often I've seen people like yourself that have so many years and so many certificates. I had never had that for the longest time. It was just me believing in myself and believing in the work. And if I can get you to believe the same thing and then in yourself, we'll get there together.
Yeah, the spiritual guide.
God, I hope people don't look at me as spiritual guy.
Well, if we're using the hero's journey as a version, right? Everybody fails, they hit their wall, and then they have to cross that threshold.
Yeah.
And there's a guide to just effectively kickstart their journey, their path.
I feel that makes me sound old though, Tex. I feel like I have the gray hair.
All right, gray beard.
Come on, man. It's hurtful, man. I'm trying here. Trying to look good. I'm trying to rock the George Clooney, a little salt and pepper. Is it working?
For George?
Don't lie.
Fantastic.
God damn it. Gosh darn it.
God, I would have had a hair.
Time out. Let's take a quick break from this episode to talk training and the Old Bull program. This is a classic strength and character development program that is flexible and efficient, tailored for busy leader, the busy professional. If you are managing or leading teams, this program is for you. You're going to develop physically, mentally, socially, and emotionally. Each block, I target a character trait for you to focus on that is negative and will eat your team alive. This could be anger. This could be envy. It could be a fixed mindset. So we hold the mirror up. We take these challenges on daily with huddles and information and integration for you to bring into the training. I have 2 required days split push and pull that are heavy. The rest of the week is up to you for a choose your own adventure style, different workouts ranging from 60 minutes all the way down to 20. This is a character development as much as it is a confidence and strength and conditioning program for you as leaders. I want you to look the part, I want you to feel the part, and I want you to lead the part. Try a 7-day free trial by clicking the link in the show notes for the program Old Bull and give it a ride. Let's get back to the show. Ready? Break. Traditional start to somebody's fitness journey. We can cross both lanes between performance and then fitness. Traditional physics starts with like a PAR cue. Hey, fill out this sheet of paper about your family history, and then maybe some have goals. So then this initial conversation you're having, what's on your PAR cue? What questions are you asking to then allow them to shine light on what they truly want?
That's actually a great thing that I feel most people can do in learning how to be a better conversationalist. When I meet clients, usually it's me giving an hour-long consultation to somebody. And so the questions I ask can be a little bit personal. You're talking about family history. I'm talking about, hey, what do you want? And then to get more detailed about that, what is your lifestyle like? Do you have children? How's stress? How well are you sleeping? What's your hydration like? You'll notice that a little in these questions of like, hey, how much do you walk? What's your physical fitness like? You're getting a lot more emotional questions like, how would you say your happiness is? What do you want to do with your life? I feel like I'm talking to like, what do you want to do with your life? No, it's more about where you're calling on me for a reason. Clearly there's something you want me to help you transform, but for me to do that better, I have to know more about yourself. So what are you willing to reveal to me? You would be so surprised at when trust is gained and I've been hired, and when we talk more, where the psychological comes into play of like, oh, I might have experienced trauma. And this isn't me in no way whatsoever espousing that I'm a therapist or anything like that, but it's always shocked me when I talk to people that a lot of the motivation to get out of obesity, to get stronger, to live a life of more fulfillment and satisfaction, it has always come, not always, but it usually comes with a background of, well, I was bullied a lot as a kid. Well, I faced a lot of violence as a child, trauma. Getting over that to become healthier and happier, a lot of those questions, when they're addressed, makes people realize, almost like through the Socratic method of guiding them there, what they need to confront, not only mentally and emotionally, but also physically to get where they need to be. You bring up a great question that is very empirical of like, what's your family history? What's your weight at? How much? These are all questions that of course need to be addressed if we're talking about fitness or trying to get healthier in general. But I realize more about an individual's psyche and what they really can be coached, the method of coaching that really appeals to them, if I ask them those personal questions. I think if I was to give myself one quality that I'm confident in, is my ability to connect to somebody. My ability to look at them and just be like, I do this job for people. I get so much out of it. So if I can help you, hell, even if I can give you this free consultation and I can help you, I'm fulfilled for the day. I'm great. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
So effectively gaining their trust to find the root of their behaviors.
Agreed. I don't like that you said gaining their trust, because I feel like you're like gaining their trust and then betraying them and crushing them.
What would you call it?
No, you're absolutely
How would
right.
you rephrase gaining your trust?
I wouldn't rephrase it at all. I'm just saying
Earning your respect.
Earning your respect. Yes. Something I'm still working on with you. One day you will respect me and give me a microphone that works.
Yeah, well, you can't. Yeah. Put me in an armbar, respect me. Which, yeah. I'm pretty sure you have. My elbow is still jacked up. Well, yeah, you spoke to identity as well. And this is something within athletics and team sport is purposely driven.
Yes.
Shared suffering. We are going to condition as a team so that way we start to, sometimes the coach can craft and lead a team to who they are, or their identity. This is faked a lot with printing out T-shirts that say some stupid phrase or one word. So I like to apply stress where the team finds their own identity, and then the coaches bring on, and then we can stick to that word or that theme, whatever it may be. So that allows the team to have further ownership, and they own that theme. What I also like about that is every year it changes. So that way you can connect it to the principles and the values of the coaching staff, but at the same time, it's autonomy, it's leadership for the individuals. So within difference between a team and working with an individual.
Right.
There's some identities that have gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This is my bias spoken in there, but when people say, "Oh, I'm a marathoner,"
Mm-hmm.
or I'm a CrossFitter,"
Mm-hmm.
so they're taking on the identity of these healthy exercise cultures and communities, rather than being connected to I'm a fit person, I am a runner. So where have you seen identity go too far?
Wow. Very introspective question here, because I've been a part of a lot of teams. I was lucky enough to have a wonderful father that put me in a lot of sports. I will agree with something you said earlier about suffering together. I've never been a part of a team that bonded more over, except with combat. So wrestling teams, football for sure because you're hitting, but
Well,
wrestling.
we can't assume anything. We're battling assumptions here, but go on.
What do you mean we can't assume anything?
Well,
Explain.
sports don't teach the lessons. The coaches and the guides and the leaders of your team taught you those lessons. Even if it is shared suffering, you were doing the drills together, but there was an overarching guide, a leader, a voice that then led to purpose of those.
Right, but wouldn't you say that even through suffering with a team, and of course you went to the coach to be on the team, you're still suffering, and therefore you do bond with the individuals. Would you not agree?
Yes, and it's a fine line to walk, and I've been on teams where we bonded
Yeah.
against the head coach.
Oh, see, I've never had that.
So
That's interesting. I see your point.
yeah,
That's a good point. I got you, man.
Yeah, I had 2 college coaches. So if our awesome coach is listening, it's not you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the shared suffering, it doesn't always lead to a good representation. It can also then break teams to where, and this is sometimes we see this in football, if there's one quarterback who may be labeled as the starter and he's boys with half the team,
Right.
and then somebody comes in, steps in due to an injury or a poor play, and then he just executes and wins, then half the team starts to lean this way.
Right.
And so when now the coaching staff has to battle this QB controversy, and ESPN loves to jump all over that.
Right.
So those are interesting team dynamics.
I see you getting into the details, which is fascinating to me in this.
So I just don't want you to throw out assumptions out there. And I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all.
Aligned with identity earlier.
I'm glad you did. I'm just saying, but would you say, though, that what I was bringing this up for was like wrestling and football, there was a lot of bonding through suffering because there was combat involved. So there's a lot more hitting. Can we agree on that?
If it's directed appropriately, yes. Those are awesome representations of sports that are physically demanding.
Yeah.
And a lot of physical contact. And that contact, and then, I mean, there's research behind it. It was done with basketball, but more high fives that a team did, the closer they got.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Physical touch.
Yeah.
Meaningful touch.
Right.
Now we're bringing at least male teams closer together.
Okay. I would assume that female teams would feel that too.
I don't know what the research says.
Oh, okay. But anyway, getting back to what we were saying originally, I wanted to jump on. I enjoy the fact that you put out that suffering, there's bonding there. What you said before, I definitely can attest to that in football and wrestling. And then, of course, as I got older, into mixed martial arts when I was 18. When you're a part of a team and you literally fight another member of your team to train and spar, you're bettering each other through that combat, through that competitiveness. And I enjoyed that so much. And I felt so much more of an identity to say, like, hey, I'm a part of Tsudanuma Gym, which is where I was in Japan. Or like, hey, I train at American Top Team, which is where I am right now in Florida in Palm Beach Gardens. That pride and that identity of the team, I enjoyed much more when there was that, because you really feel like you're going through something. In fact, I believe, I could be wrong in this, but I'm pretty sure this was the story. For the movie Fury, the director had the 4 actors, Shia LaBeouf, Brad Pitt, and the other 2, their names escape me, one of which was the Punisher, and he's awesome. He has a great podcast himself. They were all instructed, I believe, to box each other for the first 2 weeks, like when they would spar each other to bond more in that combat zone. I think that's fascinating. And so I definitely wanted to, and like you said, I enjoy this, and this is probably why y'all should listen to the podcast, getting super deep into, well, hey, sometimes suffering can cause divisions, especially if the coach coach does something wrong, or like you get a great story with the quarterback. However, what I wanted to focus on is that I personally, and I think that would be seen in a lot of situations, have bonded so much more with my team in these sports of wrestling and football and now mixed martial arts through that share, like, wow, we did something tough together, and because we believed in the unity of what we stand for, that identity you were talking about, I felt like we accomplished it, and then we grew, we superseded and transformed as a team as well as an individual because of our shared efforts together. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And I would say, for the question that followed, I believe, was to say is when was identity?
Where have you seen it spin out and go wrong?
Spin out? Personally, I have not. In my group team, I have not. I've never seen on my high school football, which I played, which was only very short, 1 year, or wrestling, nothing ever spun out in a way where the identity of the team was a force of division. In my experience, and certainly not in the MMA teams I've been a part of. What I'll give back to you, and I would love to know your opinion on it, have you ever had an experience where you had, because I haven't had this, a coach, the way they ran the team, actually the identity that they chose for their team was a negative influence? Because I've only experienced in the positive. So for you, who have been a part of God knows how many sports teams, what was it like for you? Can you give me an example on your end?
Yeah, it was my freshman year. We had a coach.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Division I player.
Yeah.
And then he started for 3 years on his Division I squad,
Mm-hmm.
and then got beat out by a freshman his senior year.
Okay.
So there was a lot of resentment associated with it.
Yeah.
And then how I feel, he was using our team to take out all that resentment and whatever he was holding on to.
I see.
Because then he would push certain people's buttons and drive them to either quit or to continue to play in spite of him. So by the end, I was only there for, he was only there my freshman year. But by the end of that, like, the whole team, so I was only with him for 1 year, but guys that were with him for 3 plus years, there was just a deep-seated hatred. And of course, as a young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshman, you're going to listen to the juniors who are like phenomenal players and athletes.
Of course.
So like that balance. And then the film room, it was very torturous for certain individuals.
Okay.
So they had a lot on their shoulders as team leaders.
Yeah.
And he let them know every little fuck up. So there was not a shake of positive reinforcement. So then I had experienced that level of just negative intent from leadership and head coaches in high school football.
Yeah.
So then I didn't know how the weight of toxic shame. I was also Irish Catholic.
Yeah. That'll stay with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm used to this.
Yeah.
Actually, this fuels me.
Yeah.
So then just not understanding the true weight that came from all those negative years, and then now you dive into perfectionism and it all catches up to you eventually. So that freshman year, I was a model for how to act. So he used me just because I only knew one speed: go hard until you die. It's like a cheetah, right? So now he used me as a model and representation of how to act and behave, which just go sprint hard. Use your body as a weapon. That's all I knew. I couldn't catch, so through you.
Right.
So he used me as a model. So fortunately, I had a great relationship with the guys, so that didn't turn resentful for them.
Wonderful.
They knew me well.
They got it. Yeah.
And they wanted me to actually catch and throw and succeed and help the team.
Yeah.
So then they could prove head coach wrong. So very interesting dynamic. But then 8 days, I can't remember if it was 8 days or 2 weeks before our first game, I broke my leg in practice. So now I'm sitting on crutches the whole time and just observing now the team dynamics, and I can't be a model, I can't participate, I can't steer the ship, I can't do anything except like just be an ear and try to motivate these dudes who just have the weight of the world. So, needless to say, within the first semester of my sophomore year, he took another job at another school, and we had to go through the hiring process. So, but they were relieved.
Right.
Like
Of
their
course.
senior year, now they got to experience the fun of sports.
The fun of sports.
Uh-huh.
Key point of that to me was always the thing I came up with.
Division III, it needs to be fun.
It has to be. Dude, I have a couple comments, man. First and foremost, I'm so sorry you had to do that. I can only imagine as a freshman how much pressure that put on you, and then the impotence of being able to have to sit on the sidelines and not display who you were for so long physically, being able to, but still being the best leader that you could be by motivating your team and being there. I feel like that is a lot of pressure for somebody.
It's stories now.
Yeah, of course.
Probably the funniest one is we walked in the locker room one day before practice. He had put lists of everything, 1, 2, 3 things that you could do better to improve your game. So the nitpickiest details of 25 dudes.
Yeah.
And then on my locker, it's like, heal your leg.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, all lessons to turn around and then now apply.
Right.
So it should be versus holding resentment against him as an individual or sports and athletics and everything all together.
Yes.
Which I'm able to navigate, but a lot of guys weren't.
Yeah.
They quit.
Yes.
Because the coach.
Right.
Not anything else. You came to school to play the sport.
Yeah.
And you quit because of the coach.
Yeah. It's like the inverse. It's what thing that you would expect not to happen. You expect to be the opposite, is that you got into it and you stayed because of the coach. It was a positive influence. And I think that's what this podcast, I would hope, is trying to do, is to make sure that remains the paradigm, right? I would also give you some back, is what I've heard from the MMA community. Now, I have been very lucky enough on my coaches. Every coach I've had, from whether it was in Chicago, Florida, Japan, even Thailand when I was getting coached, the coaches were always so about the team and so about the individual. So we had, hey, as a team, we got to be here. We got to do these things. As an individual, Drew, I want you doing this. Kevin, I want you doing this. Like, Akira, I need you to go here. They were always so attuned, because I think the danger of being like, hey man, you're about to, in the next 3 months, get in a cage where somebody's going to try to kill you. There's a lot more pressure. You know what I mean? There's a lot more pressure of like, you have to do these things to make sure you are safe, to make sure you're ready, psychologically, physically ready to be in there. So I've also heard in the negative style. Now, of course, there's hazing, but I think that can be any sport. When you go into the big time gyms, which once again, I've never experienced, I have heard horror stories of coaches looking at potential fighters as dollar signs. Like, do you have it or do you not? If you don't have it, I have so many fighters that I don't have time to waste on you. And they'll just throw them to the wolves. Like, I don't know, be this guy's sparring partner. And this dude just destroys this guy. And the coach goes, hey man, keep your hands up. And to the guy that he's, that is the brings in the money. Okay, I want you to do this better, this better. It spends way more time coaching only certain individuals and really leaving everybody else alone because just he didn't see it. There's a lot of times I've been to gyms where fighters come over and their record is like, currently right now, there's people at American Top Team, Palm Beach Gardens, and there's been fighters I've experienced before that were at another gym where the coaches were just like, I got nothing for you. Like, didn't even really care. And then he came over with like, a 2-5 record, and then my coach currently, Ben Stark, is amazing and so considerate and thoughtful of his fighters. It stayed with the guy and brought up his wins just because he's like, no, you're a fighter here, so I'm going to treat you as my fight. I will attend to you. And I think that's something that's so wonderful about positive coaching. We've talked about this before, is what an identity to be a part of this team, this gym, and to know that the coach will have your back. We'll call you if you don't come in. Hey man, you all right? You doing okay? We'll compliment you when you do something right. If you do something wrong, never make you feel horrible, but just bring it to your attention. Hey, you got to work on this. You got to check yourself on that. But hey, all in all, I liked this round. We're doing well. That sort of understanding of that particular individual's nature and being able to use it to better them, that's a coach. And if you can use that with that identity, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's what I love, because the coach is taking on the responsibility and the identity of a coach.
Yes.
Where they know they're going to be
outside the arena, but have that best man in the arena intentions at mind and setting the goal out 3 months in advance and knowing the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, not using them to then improve their, I guess, their bank account or their name.
Yes. Especially with what you were talking about before, or working on some sort of a revenge to get back at some people, going back to your story, which is ridiculous, man.
It's funny. Now,
I enjoy how you say it's ridiculous as I'm aghast at it, and you're like, it's kind of funny.
yeah, I sliding doors theory. I would have stuck it out for the 4 years. I don't know if I would have gone to grad school there and started coaching, because I started coaching for the second coach we had. I don't know.
Was it the note on your locker that got you, bro? Was that the last straw?
No, I had plenty of chips on my shoulder to pursue.
I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot there, dude. So fighting. Now, do you feel that you had to have stepped in the ring to be a good companion and coach and guide for fighters?
100% for fighters, not for coaching. And I truly believe, and I guarantee you we can have so many examples of great fighters that are bad coaches and average fighters that make incredible coaches.
Roach.
It's literally the choice I was about to get. I was about to a great example of that. And for a jiu-jitsu community, and I apologize, I don't know if he competed or if he was a successful competitor, but John Danaher is, I feel, is like the a genius of jiu-jitsu. Probably, I think, the most winningest coach, if I can say that, in jiu-jitsu. And I don't know if he had like a specifically successful career. I really don't. But all I know is that there are people that also are incredible fighters or players that are not good coaches because they have that a different mentality that is so unforgiving for themselves that then when they impart that on other people, it produces the opposite effect. Okay. So I will say this. As a fighter, I had a very short career because all it was, let me see, so 4 amateur fights, 1 semi-pro fight, 2 pro fights, won a tournament, so I went 2-0, and then I was supposed to fight again, and then I just fell in love with coaching, and I had told you before, I never was looking to be a champion. I just wanted to see personally if I could fight. And once I settled that, I was like, oh, like, it's not just in the gym. If I get put on the spot, I have the ability to win a fight. That fulfilled me as a martial artist to be like, okay, now I just have to keep training this, and should anything happen on the street or whatever, I'd be able to handle myself and protect my friends, family, loved ones, and myself, which I've had to do before. And because of martial arts, it always ended peacefully as somebody not hurting anybody else.
Be nice.
Being nice, man. God, dude, how many stories can I tell you of like a fight avoided simply because I'm like, hey, I'm wrong. Let me buy you a drink. And the guy's like, oh, thank God, man. I didn't want to fight either. And then we get drinks together and become friends. But because I fought, I have the ability to understand the grit. I have the ability to understand the grind because I was really, really scared a lot of the time. And how I sublimated that fear was I trained really hard and I studied really hard. What do the best fighters do? What is my coach saying? What can I do to get to the level they are? Because I don't want to be knocked out in front of my friends and family. If I have the ability to access, hey, if this podcast was around, I'm sure any sort of means or media where I can learn to be better at this given thing, I will do so, and I will do so with fervor, because it's not just shame on the line. It's my health. It's my health. It's my well-being. I have to make sure. And I will say this, and I know you've coached teens before. I have the opportunity to coach adults. And one of the things I've noticed is how worried I get for the fighter that comes in, 4 days a week or something like that, has a horrible diet, maybe still drinking, and God knows I love to drink, but when I would fight, I would 3 months off booze, but you can just see like, hey man, I see you in the gym, but like, you do know we're fighting in like 2 months. Or when are you going to step up? When are you going to, like, that feeling I have in me of worried for the fighter, that really, I feel, makes me a better coach, because I understand the blood, sweat, and tears it is to win and to lose. I understand what that is like as well. To get you there, I have the, what would be the word that we're looking for here? Perhaps the sympathy, because I've been there. I've sparred these hard rounds. I've been with people that were I was very lucky. I had 3 sparring partners that made it to the UFC, so I knew what it was like to train hard, to go hard.
Yeah.
And to be able to impart that with positivity, with, hey, I can understand you. I've been in your shoes, right? I've been in your wrestling shoes. I know what you're going through right now. I know you don't want to do the road work. I know it's so easy to eat the pizza. I know you hate water. I don't know why. Whatever it may be. Yeah, dude, I don't get it still. Like, just some people are just like, I don't like water. Point being, if I know these things, and if I have the ability to understand you as an individual and speak to you in a way where I know that you will listen and you know that I care about you, how can I not be a good coach for you?
Yeah.
And that is a lot of it. And that's why I don't think it has never been, I just want to win. It's never been that. It's been, can I transform how you think about yourself and about this sport? Can I do that by not only the advice I give, but the care I show and the actions that I lead with? That's very important to me.
A few things here, and we're going to go in order as you presented them, where you were an athlete and you were thinking, what are the best doing? So where did that mentality come from?
I can tell you exactly where that came from. The quote is, "What they can do, you can do." It was Bruce Lee's best friend, Dan Inosanto, and he signed my certificate when I went to go train with him. What they can do, you can do. And so I had this complete faith, because this happened in college when I was training with him. I had this complete faith that if Daniel Cormier, if this was his method of training, because I wanted to have the same style of pushing forward and using wrestling and boxing to overwhelm an opponent, I could follow his techniques. If Mike Tyson took his fear of having nightmares about this person beating him and wake up at 3 in the morning and run, I can do it at 5 in the morning and run. If Mike can do it, I can. I might not be able to do 3,000 squats in one day like he did, but the mental part I could do. If it says that I can lose 30 pounds by doing paleo, and I'm looking at all these fighters' diets, and they're eating just meat, and they're drinking a lot of water, and they're eating their veggies, and they divide it up into meals that are small enough that it just consistently fuels them. And if I can do that, I can lose this weight too. I can be that disciplined. I can be that good. I can be that excellent. And then finally, to have the ability, and this is so sincere, and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, to be able to, in my moments of silence, talk to myself in positivity and be like, you're doing good. You deserve this win. You've been giving everything. You've been listening, and you are just bleeding in that cage, man. You're putting yourself out there. Good job. Keep doing it. Instead of like, man, I got destroyed today. I'm eating horrible. I'll never win this fight. But to be able to change your mindset just like the pros do. I hired a hypnotherapist when I was fighting, to make sure that my visualization, my self-talk, sports, what do they call that? Is it sports science? It's
Psych?
sports psychology. Yeah, sports psychologist. Thank you. That was what my particular hypnotherapist involved, was sports psychology, visualization about me taking people down. I was a big time wrestler, loved getting people to the ground, and then staying on top of them and whispering sweetly in their ear for them not to move and just lay there.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, I'm gonna spit out all over the place. Go ahead.
Getting a visual here.
Mhm.
And another thing you said, just connecting with the athletes, and then teenagers. I enjoy like the middle school teenager group, because there's usually a moment. And I've worked 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade individually, and then JV for like 9, 10. And so like there's a moment where having fun with sports, it stops being hanging out with your boys and playing grab ass, and it starts being getting better.
Yeah.
Starting to be good.
Yeah.
The skills start to click. The schemes with the offense and defense, like they finally make sense.
Yeah.
After the coach repeats themselves 1,000 times. So that moment, and it comes at different phases and stages for the whole team. So sometimes it clicks with Will, and then it takes Junior, maybe a couple months, maybe a couple years. Eventually, like he realized, dude, I'm actually pretty good. And now I continue to have fun by getting better, and then we start to train healthy competition. Versus like a negative aspect and like pointing across the crosstown rival, and then using that's not the best fuel.
Right.
We want to compare themselves to who they were yesterday, right? The Jordan Peterson approach versus the crosstown rival, and or even worse, inter squad I want to use competition because competition's healthy, but like saying that you're better than teammate, junior.
Yeah.
Because now, then we start to have unhealthy things and they stop relying on each other and start not trusting each other.
I agree with you. I would say also a wonderful thing is to have healthy rivalry amongst the team. So like God knows how many rolling partners I have, and rolling in terms of jiu-jitsu is just sparring partners that I have, where I'll be tapping them, a couple months, and all of a sudden they learn something, and they hit it on me, and they get me. And there's a disappointment of, I got beat, but there's also a joy of, dude, you learned something awesome. Like, you did that. You beat me, and I've been beating you for a while. Now you just beat me with this thing. That makes our team stronger. That makes that person stronger. And of course, I care about him because he's on my team. And so when you're talking about like, I want to beat my team member, I agree with you. That's a bad mindset to have because it's going against the team. However, if it's, I personally want to get better. And if we can grow together as a team by winning and losing over each other, but we're both growing, because as you know, defeat teaches you a lot. Taught me a lot when I got tapped out last time. That gets you to that point of getting more and more closer to excellence as a team.
Yeah. So I want to expand on that.
Please do.
I'm not misinterpreted. And I've said this in practice a lot. There's a fine line between being a good teammate and being an asshole.
Yeah.
So in a lot of that, being an asshole, if I'm looking at you,
right,
and you're JV starter first year sport,
right,
and I'm starting varsity,
right,
and now I try to overpower you and just put you into the ground.
right, but you can't though, right?
Well, that's being an asshole.
No, I'm saying because I'm bigger and stronger than you, right? So we can't use it.
No, you're small. In this scenario,
come on,
I get to win.
I don't like this scenario.
Yeah. So then,
yeah,
it'd be a great representation of leadership now, where you try to put on a move that you're not so good at versus your best move.
Yeah.
So now, if in lacrosse I can go right-handed, I can go left-handed. If I'm a right-handed, I'm going to practice my left hand against the weaker opponent.
Right.
So that way I'm getting better at a lower competition on that particular skill.
Right.
That's not being an asshole.
Yeah.
So then it's then being a good teammate, because now I'm trying to build him up.
Build him up. Exactly.
And now if I'm a starter and you're a starter, and we're going against each other, now I'm going full tilt.
Right.
Because with the mindset of I'm trying to get you ready, because I know our competition, you're going against starters, I'm a starter, I'm trying to improve your ability so I can trust you. And if you shut me down and I'm giving everything that I got, I'm not going to get angry or throw my stick and mad at you.
Right.
I'm going to start to build trust because, okay, you shut me down.
Right.
I need to work harder, but I can still trust you against the best on their team.
Yes. So
one-on-ones are awesome.
Yeah.
And then it's a part of practice for team sports.
Yeah.
But then it is the sport for fighting, which is awesome. So like imagine where we just spend 8 minutes in practice.
Yeah.
You spend 8 hours.
Yes.
A week.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick side story I want to throw at you, which is just a great example of a great partner. I was super nervous my first semi-pro fight. It's the first time, obviously, in front of a lot of people. I was in a ring, so which is the first thing for me, and I was so scared, and I was just like, gosh, and of course, this happens every time. I compete in jiu-jitsu, I get the same butterflies. I'm scared, but I just zone in, I get super focused. And this guy's name is Naoto Miyazaki, and he had a very successful career in MMA, still does. Awesome guy, and he came up to me and in Japanese basically told me, he's just like, why are you so nervous? And I was just like, man, like, it's my first time. And I tried to explain it to him in my best Japanese I could give him about like why. I was just like, first time in front of a lot of people. And then he stopped and he goes, Andrew, we've sparred together. I'm really, really good. And he goes, and you do well against me. This guy is nowhere near your level. You're going to crush him. It was just this belief that he's just like, we've suffered together. Look at my record. I'm really, really good. And you do well against me. And this is the guy that slaps me around with his feet. Like, he was an incredible karate guy. He was very good at fighting. But he goes, that confidence of, we went to war together over and over again, and I'm telling you, you're better than this guy. I wouldn't lie to you. And then I went in there and won in 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that really calmed me down, with him being like, do you not believe in, like, our team? Like, we've gone through hell together. You're better than this guy. Get out and win. It was a great partner, and I thought that was wonderful. So,
dude, that is awesome. Mm-hmm. Any other antidote stories like that?
So many.
Give you goosebumps.
Yeah. Oh, bro. I'll give you a coaching one. This is always one of my favorite to tell, because it's so plain. It is so plain that I feel like every coach has experienced it, but I love to highlight it because it really does show what coaching is all about. I had this one guy, I used to hold mitts for him. He wanted to lose, just, cardio burning. And this is years ago. I was in Chicago. I was actually doing it at a CrossFit gym with a guy. I had my own clients coming in. And this guy was kind of pretty big boy. Wanted to lose like 60 pounds. And we had done a lot of sessions together. I built up a repertoire with him and a trust. And I gave him a simple circuit of, I want 50 push-ups, 50 squats, 50 sit-ups after the mitts, and let's see where you're at. He finished it, I think, in like 8 minutes or something like that. Got done. It was really, wow, that was hard. I'm like, I'm proud of you, man. You really did great. And you pumped him up. I was like, can you imagine you beat that in 10 minutes? What do you think your next score is going to be? 2 months later, he comes in, regular day, and he goes, hey, I want to try that circuit again that we did 2 months ago. I go, all right, bro, let's do it. Let's crank it out. I played Last of the Mohicans, promontory, man, just getting him hyped up, smacking him on the back, like, and this is just 50 push-ups, 50, but just getting like, dude, this is it, let's go. He beats it. I'm sitting there wide-eyed watching him. He's so much faster. He's so much more. He's yelling as he's like, let's go. On his last push-up, it's 49, and I'm sitting there looking at him and staring at my stopwatch. He's at 6 minutes and 15 seconds. And he does it, and he goes, time! And I go, 6:16. And he loses it, just pumps his fist, starts getting choked up. I see him start to get, I'm getting choked up, because and it's just a circuit. But you have to understand, in the 2 months between the first time he did it and the second time, he had grown so much into self-belief. He had lost weight. He felt more like he deserved what he came in here for. He paid the money. He put in the hours. He knows he can do something better. Empirically, all of a sudden, his time is shortened. He realizes he's so much stronger because of his effort. And it strikes him so hard that after 50 push-ups, 50 squats, and 50 sit-ups, he's crying. And I'm getting choked up. The goosebumps I feel over something so simple as a better time in a circuit, but to observe an individual, that it means so much to him that for the next month, he's going to go home, and when his head hits the pillow, he's going to be like, I did it. I accomplished something. I breathe that. That is so fulfilling to me, because it's the triumph of human spirit, and it never gets old, ever. I can tell you some cool stuff I've done that I've, like every fight that I've ever had, I've cried afterwards just because I'm so happy about how glorious the struggle was to get there. The 3 months of training, the hard nights where you're like, dude, I suck at this. What am I doing? Like all the nights where you beat yourself to keep going, and then to get just your hand raised and you go in a back room and you cry like a baby, and hopefully nobody sees you. You're just so happy. That's glory. And I can't tell you how thankful I am that people in sports that have good coaches experience that, because it's very rare. It is a very rare feeling to give your all, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and then afterwards feel like I've transformed into the better version of myself, the identity that I think of myself as. I've gotten closer to that. I have yet to find a better pleasure besides sex.
Well, yeah, it's important, and then you're there to reinforce his view of himself.
Of course.
A lot of coaches wouldn't take that path, and then we see that in where people leave it out in the field, to use that term, and then in film or after the game, coaches MF them, and then they're not reinforcing the effort.
Yeah.
They're actually getting ashamed now and then it starts to spiral, and we start to see that play out. So then you knowing that well and seeing this man's moment, and it's a workout versus an Olympic event, but still giving him the same praise and energy that the coaches at the Olympics give.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you said earlier, transform how you think about you. So now what if you start to hear negative things, an athlete saying negative about themselves, their performance, or hit you with the body language?
Yeah.
Because this is all over high school sports. So like, what's actionable things for coaches to, if you hear this or see this body language, how do you start to turn around versus just be more confident?
Dude, a couple things. First and foremost is, I cannot stress this enough, never lie. They'll pick that up. You never lie. Hey, you did a great job out there. If they didn't, don't lie to them. Now, this is very important, because the positivity that you can instill in somebody during defeat at their lowest moment, to remind them that what happened out there can better be prepared for by doing these things, that you still were in the arena, you still chose this thing that's hard. Defeat is a natural part of life. It's going to happen. It's the only way you can get better at something, is suffering. It's the only way you can get better. If you are currently feeling bad and shameful, you have to destroy shame. It's the lowest vibration. Guilt is okay insofar as, like, why do you feel guilty? It's your conscience telling you something, right? That's fine. But you have to be able to sublimate that into action that is positive. This is where the coaching comes in. To be able to look that man or woman in the eye and say, hey, listen, you went out there today and you did your best to perform. If you don't feel you did your best, listen to that feeling and let it hype you up to train better for the next one, because we're not done by a long shot. I am proud that you showed up and you did what I thought you could do out there. Like, you know, even because there's a lot of time what people understand is, I will give you a great story right after this that involves in this, but people will sometimes literally give everything and still experience defeat. You have to remind them of that. It's like, hey, you trained your ass off for this. You went out there, you performed well. This person on this day was just better than you. And that happens. There's many talks I've given to people. I'm like, you were winning the fight and he just caught you. And guess what? That's the sport. These things happen all the time. I think what's cool about being on a team sport, and maybe you can correct me, but like, as a wrestler, you train as a team, but you're on the mat alone. As a fighter, you train as a team, but you're in there alone. So you take on those losses like, I lost. But on a team sport, it's not like, it's we lost. So there's everything we could have done. We can figure out as a team. We win together, we lose together. I love that camaraderie, but it is something to take a little bit off your shoulders. Like, okay, it wasn't just me. Some others' mistakes were made.
Good coaches do that.
Right. That's very important. But as a fighter, it's very hard to remind somebody, like, hey, it's just you in there, right? And so to tell that person, there are things that we could have done differently, but sometimes that's just the name of the game. You should have no shame in your performance if you truly gave it all. I'm going to tell that story. It's the best advice I ever got on fighting, and it's beautiful. I was lucky enough to be, Thailand was hired by Christian Dahil, who is the greatest Italian Muay Thai kickboxer in Thailand. Perhaps not the greatest, definitely a legend though. I think he was the first Italian to fight in Lumpini Stadium, if that's how you pronounce it. An incredible man. He won a boxing fight and came home, like Western boxing, came home, he's undefeated. And I think he had over 200 kickboxing fights, which is not uncommon in Thailand, especially for his age. And I asked him, I was like, what's the deal, bro? Like, you don't look happy with yourself. And he goes, I didn't train as hard as I could have in this camp, and I know I'm better than this guy, and he was beating me, and I got lucky. I hit him with a perfect liver shot and dropped him. But I think, like, I was getting tired, and that makes me upset. And I'm just like, yeah, but true, but you won the grit. And I'm trying to talk to him. He goes, sit down. Let me tell you something. I'm sparing you my horrible Italian accent, by the way. You should be thanking me. And he said this. He goes, let me tell you, there's 4 situations that happen as a fighter. 1, you do everything right. You train twice a day. You do your road work. You eat perfect. You have great hydration. You're putting everything out of the way except this fight. You obsess over it. And then you lose. If that happens, you should feel no shame, because literally, hey, on this day, this person was just better than you. You can't control that, but what you could control, you did, and you did it excellently. So there should be no shame in your spirit. The second is, you don't do anything right. You slack off. You're not doing road work. You're coming into the gym, but you're not putting in the work. You think you're ready. You think you're set because you've done it all before. You get in there and you win. And that's what I'm feeling right now, which was, did I even deserve it? Like, I didn't even feel any real growth from this. What am I doing in there? And it's great. I got lucky. I got lucky. Third scenario. It's the same thing as the last one, where you don't do anything and then you lose.
Yeah.
How horrible do you feel? You could have won this fight, but by your actions beforehand, you had 2 to 3 months to prepare for this fight, and you didn't do a darn thing that could have beat this other person. How much shame do you feel? That is hell. That is what we avoid at all cost. But I'll tell you what heaven is. Working your ass off for 2 to 3 months, everything dialed in, and then achieving victory, the glory you feel. Let's work on that last one, achieving victory by doing everything possible. There is no better feeling. That is heaven. And I asked him, I was like, what would be the best scenario for you? And he goes, I kind of want to go out like a Spartan. I want to go out in my shield. I want to die in the ring. And I'm like, all right, dude, that's
number
great.
5.
He did.
Oh, no.
He did. And I really, really liked that man so much. I shared so many great moments with him. When I heard about this, of course I grieved. But there was a very large part of me that was like, I'm proud of you, man. Like,
wow.
You've said what you wanted to, and it happened. And I wish it wouldn't have. I wish you would have lived to the ripe age of 100. Probably still fighting. But he always said he wanted to go out in a shield. And he got knocked out and didn't wake up, unfortunately. So God bless him, and may he rest in peace as a legend. He was amazing, amazing man. But I always remembered that story. I think the first podcast I ever went on, Grapplers Union, I told that story. It's one of my favorite, and I hope people listen to it, because the things that you do, I feel like this is Stoicism 101, but it's like the things you can control them. Your mental game, your nutrition, your road work, your endurance, everything, the training, listen to your coach, having faith in your team. Control those things. Win or lose, you have nothing to be ashamed of, because you did everything you could. And that's what it is.
One thing that I tell coaches often is, like, your athletes will lie to you. Movement never will. So this
Great quote, Tex.
This is body language. This is preparation and training. Because a lot of time when we're coaching sport, I got to hand off the training. Versus strength and conditioning, I'm in the weight room with them. When I hand off the training packet or the programming online, they're going to say they're going to do it. And then they come back and their preparation is as clear as day. It's black or white, whether they did it or not. So they will lie to you. They'll say they did this and that, but their movement never will. So that applies to both body language and the preparation is you're speaking to there. So now, how important is the body language? So we can aim to hear words and try to correct them and shape them, but you understand movement and the body so well. How important is putting someone in an upright position and to be connected to their body and allow them to start to believe their words that they are starting to shape and tell themselves?
You are somebody that far exceeds me when it comes to understanding the anatomy, especially the anatomy and the proper complexities that human beings go through, and they do proper movement. That is your area, and I defer to you. However, what I will say is, when I observe fighters, when I observe anybody that I'm coaching, if I see heavy breathing, if I see downcast eyes, if I see somebody shying away from their training, not going 100% like they're used to, because we have a repertoire. I know what you look like when you do good. And for the last week you've been doing, because sometimes we have bad nights, that happens. But it should be me spotting, this is an individual that is usually on fire, raring to go, doesn't shy away, loves the gunfire, and is in here ready to train. And in the last couple sessions you've been lacking, that's when you pull them aside. I hate the rod. I don't need it. What I want to do is to lead you. And so instead of me being like, why do you suck right now? Right? That's not going to happen unless it'll make them laugh. Like, it's just like, then you can play off humor like that. My coach, whenever I missed a session, he would text me. He goes, "Did you quit?" Like, because he knew he would just that would rile me up, and that was our repertoire. But I would come over and be like, "How you think you're performing this week, man? I've been noticing a little lackluster from you. What do you think this is?" To bring it to them and just say, "Well, things are going ahead at home," or "I don't know, I've just been feeling off," or "I'm nervous about my fight." Why do you think that is? Socratic method of questioning to get them to the truth so they can finally say whatever it may be, and then noticing my reaction. Well, if you're not going to put in no, it's okay. What can we do to turn this around? How about this, bud? You want me to hold mitts for you tomorrow morning? Why don't we make a private? Let me be here for you. Let me help you. Would you mind? Would it be okay with you? Or if they're young, would it be okay with the parents asking the parents, can I check in on you? Can I talk to the parents? Hey, how is he doing? Showing an invested interest in the individual, making sure they know that they're cared about, that not only do you notice when they're off, but you're willing to do something about it on your own personal and private time because you do care. That in itself brings them this, well, he believes in me, so I should be believing in myself. That's what's going to be. I understand there's a quick fix of stand up straighter, get in there, and there's a time and place for that, especially at a fight camp, being like, hey, run harder. That motivates people. The Mickey training, like, come on, you son of a, like that does something for certain groups of people. But if I've seen a guy who's coming in whose girlfriend just broke up, I had a client, a remote client that, God bless his soul, lost his partner, passed away. And that was something that we had to get over with, right? I've had fighters and teens were not going good at home. I've had romances that end, right? You're going to get a person. You're never going to get a machine. So when they're not doing something correctly, it's not because the functioning is off. It's because the headspace isn't there. And you as a coach that cares, or as a human being that has bonded with this person, you should want to pull him aside or her aside and be like, what's going on? Can I help you with this? What can I do for you? Or just being this, man, like, I've been there. We've all been there. I one of my favorites, and then I'll cut it close. One of my favorites was I was coaching a 16-year-old in wrestling, and he came in and he sat down, and he was doing shots on me, and I just picked him up and sat him down. I'm like, "What is it?" And he goes, "I got in a fight with my girl last night, coach. I think we're done." I'm 38 at the time, and it just had to stop myself from laughing because I'm just like, bro, like it's fun. And I sat down and I go, I want you to look around the room. And he did. And there's all these big MMA fighters. And I go, every single one of these people have been broken up with. They've had heartbreak. And let me tell you, man, it sucks. You're going to be fine. And we're here for you as a team. And you can come in here and you can train 5%. I don't care. I'm here for you. I just need you to know that. And I want you to know too, you will fall in love again. And life is going to be amazing again. Just right now, it's a little hard, but you're not alone. We've all been there and we're all here for you. He got up. He was a little choked up. But he got up and the entire thing switched around. And he was going hard and we were laughing and, I was messing around. I made it way more about fun. I'm throwing them all around and just making them laugh. And I think those are the moments that this podcast is so influential for and it's so wonderful, is that there was an opportunity and I took it to be a leader of this young man, to show him something that had nothing to do with wrestling and yet everything to do with sports, that we come together as a team. And I think you do that very, very well.
Well, I appreciate you, dude.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming on the show, making time, sharing good stories, wisdom, and guidance. And that'll do it for the episode.
All right.
Where can they go to learn more about you, follow along in your journey, and just have a good time?
I have a cardboard box I'm living in right down this way.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, no, I believe it or not, man, I'm in Florida and then back to Chicago and then going back to Japan. So I'm gonna be in the next 2 months. I'm gonna be moving, but you can always reach me at my Instagram, the Vagabond Coach, and you can also email me andrewski296@gmail.com.
Spelling?
Dude, I'm gonna flip this table, bro. I'm gonna flip it. I'm just so angry. The Nick Cage mug is flying. This is it. So there you go, buddy.
All right, Drewski, thanks, brother.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.